I'll jump right in. And as we're going, since it's a relatively small crew, you can feel free to jump in at any time with questions, or you can save them till the end, or you can put them in the chat, whichever you wish. So my name is Greg Shankin. I'm the founder of Gloss. We are a Boulder-based digital marketing agency. And these are some of the services that we provide. So you could just take a quick glance at that. Happy to go into detail on that later. But that's all I'm going to say about us for right now, because that actually ties into a big theme of my presentation, which is that we're here to talk about you. And you'll hear that theme come up. This is not about me. This is about you. And so the reason for that, and this again ties into the theme, is really nobody cares about your products except you, right? So you don't care that I offer these services. That's okay. You care about yourself and your business, and that's okay. So having said that, I always start off this discussion with this word, empathy. And when I'm doing it live, sometimes I get a few blank stares or quizzical looks. You know, why are we talking about empathy when we're here to talk about your website? And that will become very evident as we go along here. And what we're here to talk about today, the title, as I think you know, 5 ways your website is scaring away your best customers and how you can fix them. And we'll also tie in some things related to COVID-19. So empathy. I want you to think about why you do what you do and take off the table the answers like money, selling stuff. Go a little bit deeper than that. Why do you do what you do? And if you really keep asking that question, and also you're doing something that you enjoy and you're passionate about, it's to help people, right? Whether it's to help them look their best with a good hairstyle, or help them, fight a lawsuit, help them buy the best product, help them eat a good meal. And so the point is that you care about your customers, hopefully. And so what does that mean? That means you are being empathetic to your customers. So if you have a store, hopefully you keep it clean. If you have a retail location, you try to minimize wait times. And you want customers to feel safe and secure. I mean, these are just a few of those things that ideally you think about to show that empathy and show that care for your customers. Do you make it easy to do business with you? And you feel it's important for your brand to reflect your business, your values, and your benefits. So hopefully you think about these things in your non-online or offline business, whatever that means, whether you work from home or an office or a store or a retail location, or maybe you're a purely online business. But the point is that if you care about your customers, you're asking these questions and answering them. And so I'm just going to show an example of an ad I saw. Best violin studio in Boulder, trained professionals. So that's the ad. Now, remember what I said before, your customers don't care about your products. They don't care that you think you are the best. And trained professionals, does that really add anything? If I'm a violin studio or violin teacher, clearly I'm a trained professional. So this ad will not perform well, generally speaking, because of those reasons. Remember, you care about you. So if you're looking for violin lessons for yourself, your child, they say they're the best. So what? That has nothing to do with you, the customer. And so these are some of the questions that kind of tie back to that empathy. Will I feel safe doing business with you? Why should I invest my time listening to you, my valuable time? And really, this is the big one. How will you solve my problem and make my life better? And there's a great acronym for that, WIIFM, which simply means what's in it for me. Again, that's what people care about, themselves, the benefits. So not that you think you're the best or not that you have trained professionals, but how will you make them an incredible violin player? How will you give them a great hobby? How will you help their child have an interesting and fun skill to learn, right? Do you have flexible times to have lessons? Do you go to their house? Do they come to your house? Those are the things people care about because it impacts themselves. And of course, price is part of that as well. So again, I'll repeat it. Nobody cares about your products except you. So I'm going to go into these things one by one and explain how they tie into your online presence. Show you some examples, happy to answer questions, and hopefully give you some things to think about for your online presence. And before I even get into that, really the guiding principle that I always tell clients to think about is don't think of your website as just this thing that you have to do to have a website. It's tied into your entire brand. And it doesn't matter what your business is.
Sorry, Greg, can I interrupt you really quickly? Do you have some light you could put on? It's really hard to see you. It's really dark.
Oh, really? It might be, let's see. I'm actually going to take away the virtual background because sometimes that causes a problem. So just bear with me real quick. One sec. Hold on, I have to get into the... okay, here we go. I'll just turn this off. And we'll just do a regular background. Is that better?
It's better, but you're still a little dark, but we can see better.
Let me close the shades because I might be putting in some light here. That actually makes it worse. Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Better. So if I were in my office, which I'm not,
there you are,
then obviously this would not be an issue, but we're all having fun working from home here. Okay, so thanks for your patience there. Let me just get back into where I was. Okay, so what I like to say is that everything matters. I know that's a very general statement, but you care about what your business cards look like. You care about the cleanliness of your store, right? All of those things a lot of business owners think about, but then they kind of just think of the website as a must-have, or it's an online brochure. And so hopefully when we get done here today, you'll think of your website in a new way, or if you're already taking your website very seriously, you'll think about some of these things that truly scare away your best customers. And as I'm going through these, think in terms of your website, but also think in terms of yourself as a consumer, because everything I'm talking about that a business owner should be thinking about, you as a consumer, I guarantee, have experienced for better or for worse. You've had good online experiences and bad online experiences. You've had websites that make you wait, and that's the first one I'm going to talk about. And you have websites that load very quickly. So this is a huge driver of success on your website, is the speed at which it loads. And this little chart here just shows basically that for every 1 second of additional page load time, so 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4, you're losing 5 to 15% more of your traffic. And that's significant, very significant. Whether you own a hair salon, and it's funny, I always use hair salons as kind of my Main Street USA example, even though I don't have any hair salons as clients. We have all types of different verticals. But whether you're a hair salon selling your services for $50 to $100, or you are a real estate agent where the average home price in Boulder is $1 million, you don't want to lose any visitors coming to your site. And I like to joke that pretty much everyone in the world has ADD now. I can joke about it because I'm diagnosed with ADD, so I'm not making fun of anyone, or I'm making fun of myself. But I think you know this as a consumer, whether or not you have ADD. People just have short attention spans now. You might be browsing on your phone while you're waiting online at the grocery store, or while you're waiting for your kid to come out of soccer practice. And if that site takes too long to load, and again, you know this as a consumer, you're out of there. And so now flip that and think about your consumer leaving your site because your site loads slowly. So these and the good news is this is something that can be pretty easily and quickly fixed for a low cost. What that cost is, there are other variables that go into it, but it's not thousands and thousands of dollars. It's in the low hundreds, just as a general guide. And it makes a huge difference. So whatever your price point is, whatever your product is, make sure your site is loading as quickly as possible. And this is an example or a test that Amazon did. And obviously they're on a much different scale than most likely your business is. But 1 second of additional page load time could cost it $1.6 billion in sales each year. Google, same thing. Search results by 0.4 of a second. They could lose 8 million searches per day. And that's how they make their money, is from search. So whether it's 1.6 billion, 1.6 million, or $1,600, it's significant. And it's kind of, some of these things aren't like the sexy parts of building your web presence or optimizing it, but all of them are important. So that's the first one, is website speed. And again, think of it in terms of your offline presence. Do you make people wait in your office or your store? Or if you have long lines in your store, what do? You probably hire more people or get a new cash register. So the same thing applies online. Second one is, am I safe? Again, you want to make people feel safe in your store. And you have probably been to websites that say not secure in the browser. And the reason for that is that Google, and this is if you're using Chrome, if Google recognizes that your site is not secure, then it will say not secure. Now, secure just means, and this gets a little techie, but it means that you have a security certificate or an SSL certificate. But if that goes over your head, no problem. As a consumer, you know, some sites you go to say HTTP and some say HTTPS. The S stands for secure. If you don't have that on your website, it's going to say not secure. Now, you might say, well, I'm not selling any products on my website. It doesn't matter. It used to, that didn't used to be the case. You only needed to have security on your site if you were actually charging and doing credit card transactions. But again, whether you're a home builder, a lawyer, a surgeon, doesn't matter. You need to be secure. And getting a security certificate, in most cases, it's free. So that's the good news, and it takes a couple hours to set up. If you don't have someone techie, we do it, or look it up online. It's not a big deal to do, and just go ahead and do it. And just take care of that, because users notice it. Now, do all users notice it? No. But if 1 out of 100 users notices it, do you want to lose that potential customer? Of course not. The other thing about security, and also site speed, which I talked about before, is that it's not just for the purpose of your users, although that's extremely important, but the other audience you're trying to please is Google and other search engines, because they actually use site speed and site security as a way to rank your company in search results. So all things being equal, you versus a competitor, if their site's secure or their site's faster, they're going to rank above you in Google search results. And so you're always trying to please two audiences, your users, and that kind of gets back to empathy, and then Google, and that just gets back to making sure your site gets the best online presence. So again, good news here is that's an easy and low cost fix. Next is, are you credible? Okay, and again, think back to things that you search for, or products you buy, services you're looking for online. So one of the things you probably look at is online reviews. That's coming in a little small, but this is a search results from Yelp. And you also see this on Google, and there are lots of other sites that basically assess your reputation based on users providing their result or their reviews, their experience with you. And Yelp is, of course, a big one. And again, think of yourself as a consumer. When you go to sites like Yelp, are you going to page 2, 3, 4, 5? Maybe, maybe not. But like anything, the sites that are ranked on page 1 are going to get the most traffic, and Yelp basically ranks these They have their own algorithms, but whether it's the number of reviews or what the average review, and a lot of companies have no reviews. So this one here somehow is ranked number 3, but this business actually has no reviews. So one thing you need to make sure of is that you have done what's called claim your business on Yelp, on Google, and all of the sites that track your reputation. What we're talking about, the term is reputation management. And there are 3 parts to it. 1 is getting reviews. 2 is monitoring and replying to the good reviews. And number 3, and this is the one that can really make or break you, is monitoring and replying to the bad reviews. Now, I'll take those in order. If you don't have any online reviews, then it could be 2 things. 1, you haven't, again, what's called claim your business, which you need to do with Google, Yelp, and many other sites. It's a pain in the butt to do, but it's not hard to do, and it doesn't have any cost to it. You just have to do it. And you've probably seen as a consumer, it might say, are you the owner of this business? When you're searching for something, that means that business owner did not claim their business. In other words, Google is saying, we don't know who the owner is. Are you the owner? If so, then claim your business. And there's a process that they go through to make sure that you are the owner of that business. So if you've claimed your business and you're not getting reviews, well, then you need to get reviews. And how do you get reviews? If you're not getting any, you need to ask your customers to give them to you. And so there are automated online tools that do it. You can ask customers to do it verbally or when they're in your place of business. And then also, hopefully over time, customers will just go ahead and do it. But you can't count on that. So you want to make it happen. So again, when you're a consumer and you're searching for something, what do you think when there's no reviews or 1 review? Even if it's a good one, you think, they don't really have such a strong online presence. And so these things are incredibly important, a little bit different than the first 2 I talked about, which are more, cosmetic and kind of you just get them fixed. This is an ongoing process, reputation management. There are services that can do this for your business. We do that. Lots of other services that do it. And you heard me mention before, the obvious one is you need to know if you're getting bad reviews and you need to reply to them. And unfortunately, probably over time, despite your best efforts, you will probably get a bad review. The thing that's concerning about it is not knowing about it. And also it can happen at any time. What if you're away on a week vacation or it's 3 a.m. on New Year's Eve and somebody posts a bad review? You might not know about it. You might not see it for a week or 2. And meanwhile, that bad review is causing damage to your online credibility. And so there are services, we do that too, that can monitor this and even reply on your behalf. And sometimes clients say, well, how do you know what to say? And what we do is the same thing that we recommend you do if you're managing your own reputation. And that is you want to get that conversation offline. So if they say, we went into your store and it was filthy, don't reply back and say, what are you talking about? It was clean. Or what's your problem? Don't get into an online fight. All of that gets captured and creates an online thread. You want to do the same thing that, again, you've probably seen as a consumer. I'm sorry that you had a negative experience, and how can we help? Here is the name and number of the owner, manager, whomever, who can help you navigate through this problem or discuss this with you. And you give out your phone number or an email address, but then you're just getting that thing offline. Now you can't, sometimes people ask, can you get that negative review taken down? And that's a very hard thing to do because the services like Google and Yelp, that's what their business model is to show real credible reviews from consumers, whether they are good, bad, or ugly. So it's almost impossible to get it removed. The best way to minimize the damage is what I said. Get that conversation offline, reply to it quickly. And then this gets back to the previous point, just always be soliciting new reviews because the more good reviews there are, it pushes that bad review down. So if you have 100 good reviews and 1 bad, then A, people might not even see that bad review, might not even show up unless they really dig deep, which most people don't. Or they see 1 bad review and 100 good reviews, and people understand. There's going to be some negative experiences, but the 100 good definitely outweighs the 1 bad. So again, you need to make sure your business listings are claimed. You need to solicit reviews. You need to be aware of the reviews. And again, there's services and software that do that. And you need to reply to them and to the good ones. So when you get a good review, that's a wonderful thing. You should be happy about it. But 2 things related to that is you want to reply, because that just reinforces that goodwill. So when someone says, I had the best experience ever, the pizza was amazing, my service was incredible, and we had a great time, right back, thank you so much. We really appreciate your business. And by the way, here's a 10% off coupon, or if you want to go that route. But you're just creating a relationship with that customer, right? And that's empathy. So, and then the other thing you want to do is you want to, what I call, squeeze the juice out of that good review. So if you get a good review on Yelp, you can post a link to it from your Facebook page. Okay, so you can take these good reviews and essentially spread the good news throughout the rest of your online presence. Okay, so this is extremely important. Again, you know this as a consumer. You may know about it as a business owner, but it's something you need to handle. What I will say is that it is pretty challenging to, obviously it's very easy to just type a reply in, no problem. The challenging thing is knowing about a review as soon as it comes in, whether it's good or bad. And so, and even if you have a marketing person, or you are marketing savvy and you're really paying attention to this, you're still human, and you can't cover it all. And if you are covering it all, then what happens when you're not working? So just make sure that if you're going to take advantage of this really huge driver of success on your website, that you have really a system in place, whether it's software, a service, or a combination of both. And also the good news here is that if you do decide to invest in this dollars-wise, meaning taking it off your plate, it's not a huge cost. So again, we're talking in the low hundreds on a monthly basis in most cases. So that's online reviews, you know that. And this is related to, are you credible? Okay, so now I'm going to go into something else about, are you credible? And that has to do with your branding and your logo and how you present your business. And this can, I like to have a little bit of fun with this. So this is a sign, Petco, big brand, multi-billion-dollar brand, and the sign looks good, right? But at night, they had a broken light bulb. So instead of flies and fish, or supplies and fish, it says lies and fish. So obviously you don't want that look for your brand, right? Now this is offline, but just think about it online. Do you have a logo? Is it a professional logo? The color scheme of your site, is it aesthetically pleasing? That one thing I'm really bad at is that part. I'm not good at looking at designs. I have a team of designers, and saying that looks great, or that color orange should be a little brighter. So if you're not good at that, then get other people's opinions. And if you are good at that, also get other people's opinions. There's all kinds of psychology about colors, and blue implies trust, and lots of different best practices and studies around that. But at the very least, you don't want a broken light bulb, right, to make your brand look bad. And I think this is one that you guys will like. So the National Jewelers Exchange, that's in New York City. And then at night it says National Jew Exchange. So, I'm Jewish, we like our jewelry, but I don't think we're buying and selling each other. So again, not a good look. Dynasty Buffet, Chinese place. And now it says Nasty Buffet. One more, hopefully there's no kids watching here. So Black Angus Steakhouse, and then you can just read that for yourself. So, you know, these are, I mean, some of these are multi-billion-dollar companies, but really it's just to prove the point that these things matter. They do, because everything matters. This is your brand, and then go back to empathy. Would you want your customers walking by your restaurant with their children and seeing this? Of course not. So think about those things. You know, if you don't have a logo, it's, again, not a very expensive proposition. There's a site called 99designs.com, which is basically a crowdsourced logo creation service. So that's 99designs.com. And basically you can post your specs or your needs, and it'll take you through a short questionnaire. And then basically designers from around the world all submit their designs to you, and you pay up front, but you pick a winner, and then you get that winning logo. And then even after you pick that winner, you can go back and forth with that winner and do some further tweaks. They have some upsells in there, so it may be a little more than $99, but again, we're not talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. You know, and Fortune 500s, they can spend millions on a logo. That is definitely not necessary at all. You can create a logo in the hundreds of dollars, and it is important for all the reasons that we shared here. It's your credibility, it's your brand. So we talked about, are you going to make me wait? Am I safe? Are you credible? Is it easy to give you my money? And so that can be as simple as what kind of payment methods you accept. Obviously, if you're telling people that they have to send you a check to buy a product and it's an online sale, that's going to be a challenge. So you definitely want to accept credit cards. That goes without saying. What I will add on to that, though, is that you also want to accept PayPal. So I've been doing this a long time, and I've heard so many people say, I hate credit cards, I only use PayPal. I've heard an equal number of people say, well, maybe a bigger number of people say, I hate PayPal. If you only accept PayPal, I don't want to pay you. Same thing as everything I'm talking about here. It's leaving money on the table. So it's a little bit of extra development work if you have a designer, but not a big deal. If you're already accepting credit cards, but not PayPal, you know, again, you're talking low cost to add it. You don't have to pay PayPal to add PayPal, but you might have to do some custom development or not. I mean, they have some simple things too. But bottom line is that this is not a big deal to add PayPal. If you don't have credit card service at all, then the one I'd recommend is called Stripe.com. There are plenty of merchant processors out there, but Stripe.com, it offers you a flat rate. It's 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. And it's just very easy to set up, very easy to use. There are services that can be lower than that. Without knowing your business, I can't tell you that Stripe is the best. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. That's kind of an easy go-to. And you can always set up Stripe, and you can always change it later, or you can have multiple payment processors and switch between them. But definitely make it easy to accept payments. And that also speaks to making your order form easy, just making the whole online experience easy. Again, you know this as a consumer. If you have to click, and you don't know where to go next, the site's loading slowly, all of a sudden it says not secure, right? You're out of there. So that's what I mean by, is it easy to give you my money? That's one of the things I mean, actually. Another one is it easy to find you? So where are you online? I'll switch to, since this is a little bit small, I'll just bring over another image here so I can blow it up a little bit. One sec. Yeah. So, and when I do these lectures, of course, there's people of all different, knowledges of tech and marketing. So search engine optimization is basically when Google decides where to rank a given business based on the keyword that the user typed in. So I typed in violin lessons here, and this is what came up. Now, it's broken up into different sections. So at the top here, it says ad. So this company here is, if you click on this link, then that company is paying for that click. That's called pay per click, or PPC. So you can always buy ads. So that's one way to make it easy to do business with you, because you're placing your ad front and center. So that's called PPC, or paid advertising, or PPC actually is a form of paid advertising, pay-per-click. The next section is what's called Google Maps. Again, you've probably seen this as a consumer. And Google only shows the top 3. In other words, these 3 are what Google feels is the best search results for this search term, violin lessons. They are not paying to be here. They definitely invested some time and maybe some money into doing certain things to get their site ranked, which is called SEO optimization. And so this doesn't necessarily happen by just hoping for it, but they're not paying Google to be here. This is a great place to be. Can you click on more places and see additional companies? Absolutely. Do you do it? Maybe, maybe not. So you really want to be in this top 3. And I'll come back to that in a sec, because what's really amazing about Google Maps, if you're a local business, is that they only show local businesses. So below the Google Maps are the regular organic or SEO search results. And the challenge with that as a local business or a small business is that you're competing with national businesses. So Thumbtack is actually not a violin instructor. It's not a music instructor. If you want to look it up, thumbtack.com basically is a place where you as a consumer can say, I'm looking for a violin teacher or a carpenter or a nutrition consultant or a digital marketing company. And then those vendors bid to try to get your business. So Thumbtack's a huge company, multi-million, they might even be over 100 million, big company. And so you're never going to compete with them to get ranked on page 1 in the organic search results. But that's why Google Maps is so important, because Google is not going to put Thumbtack here or Yelp or Yellow Pages or other kinds of directories. They're only going to put local businesses. So, you know, Thumbtack with its multi-million-dollar marketing budget and probably a team of 20 people that help them get here, you don't have to worry about competing with them. You do have to worry about competing with your local competitors. And so that's why Google Maps is such a great place to focus your efforts, or you can do paid ads, or you can do both, ideally. How do you get ranked here? So that's a little bit more of a deeper discussion, but if there are specific questions after I'm done, no problem. But there are, at a high level, there are several things. One is what's called, this gets back to claiming your business, what I talked about with online reputation. You have to do that with Google. And then you have to make sure that, and there are hundreds of directories, portals, search engines that are not Google, and those hundreds actually feed thousands of secondary portals, directories. And so what's important about that is you need to get listed in all of them, and you need to get listed in a very consistent way. So what do I mean by that? Is that, see right here, it says under my local music lessons, 2019, 19th Street. So first of all, before I forget, to get listed on Google Maps, you have to have a business address listed on your website. Otherwise, Google doesn't know where you are. So if you don't have that, add it like today. As soon as we're done this call, add your address to your website. Done. I mean, and that's obviously zero cost. Just do it. Now, if it's your home address, for example, and you don't want to list your home address online, then you can look into, there's post office boxes and or a co-working space. That, there's other ways around that. It does have to be a physical address. So if you can't do that for whatever reason, then that's okay, but you're just not going to ever be listed on Google Maps. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when I said before, it has to be consistent. So once you start sending out your information to all of these other portals, directories, and that's called business listings or business citations, it has to be consistent. So 2019 19th Street and it's ST, that's okay. But if you're now going to tell send this out to Yelp and all these other places that take these business listings or citations, it has to be consistent. Don't do ST with one of them and street with another one and ST period with another one. They all have to be exactly the same. I mean, if you do one that's wrong, it doesn't mean you're going to lose everything, but you're just not going to get the benefit of that particular citation because ST period is not the same as ST, and nobody knows exactly, or they can't know that that's exactly the same business. Okay, so doing that business listings management, business citations management, having the address on your site, keeping all those details consistent, and that includes your phone number as well. That's going to help you with Google Maps. Will it definitely get you in the top 3? Maybe, maybe not. Also, some of this depends on the keyword. So free violin lessons or best violin lessons or boulder violin lessons, those are all different keywords. And you might be ranked number 1 for one of them and not ranked at all, or ranked below number 3 for another one. So it does depend on the keyword. And this is where it gets a little bit more advanced in terms of how aggressive you want to be. So, you know, there are companies that do that. We do that. And also don't expect immediate results. So I told you to add your address today to your website. Absolutely do that. That doesn't mean you're going to get ranked tomorrow. SEO, search engine optimization, whether it's getting ranked on the maps part or below it, and you can get ranked below it, meaning on page 1, but below the maps section of the results, you can get ranked. You're probably never going to get ranked above Thumbtack or Yelp, but you can get ranked on page 1. In fact, if you do boulder violin lessons, you'll see some actual companies that do violin lessons as opposed to these, you know, big portals and search engines and third-party services. But it's an ongoing effort. It's never over. So if you're ranked here, guess what? If you're Harmony Music House of Boulder and this is you and you're my client, or this is you and you're doing your own work, guess what? You're going to be gunning for them. You're going to be trying to displace them as number 1. So with SEO, you can never rest on your laurels and say, we're there, we made it, we won. You've never won. You might have won temporarily, or maybe you've won with a certain keyword, but it's an ongoing effort and it involves ongoing work. You know, cost-wise, it can be hundreds, it can be thousands. I'm not saying it has to be, and it depends on the size of your company. But if you're a small local business, you know, a Boulder-based local retail business, or you're a professional services provider, it's definitely not thousands. We're talking hundreds to really work towards getting ranked here on Google Maps and ideally below it. And then if you want to do paid ads, PPC, then basically you're paying for traffic. That's something you pay to Google. And then you need to be able to set up a Google AdWords account, create ads, create copy, tracking. And in one sense, it's not rocket science to actually just set it up and get out of the gate. But like anything, the devil's in the details. And so you can give it a shot yourself and you might see great results. A lot of this depends on how competitive your industry is. But this is an area that if you're not seeing good results, then it is something to consider, to look for an outside company to help you do that specializes in it. And again, that applies to PPC, pay-per-click, or SEO. Again, the good news, even in this case, you're not going to be paying, you know, thousands of dollars a month for this. In most cases, I just say that because I don't know what, you know, size or type of business you have. So that, all of that speaks to, you know, can I find you? And we talked about, do I want to do business with you? Let me just get back to where I was. 1 second. One sec. Any questions so far? Okay, so I'll come back here and we'll jump back in. Okay, so we talked about this and all that good stuff. Is it easy to give you my money? Do I want to give you my money? And Actually, that was related to the online reviews. Is it easy to give you my money? Are you making it easy with different payment methods? Can I even find you online? That speaks to the SEO or paid advertising. And then I like to show a couple of examples here. So this is related to your image, your brand, and it gets back to empathy. So this is a local, well, they're actually a national business, but they have presence in Boulder, a couple locations. And I blurred out the logo itself, and unfortunately I gave away the answer here. But look at their slogan, or what's sometimes called a USP, Universal Selling Proposition, tagline, restoring the rhythm of your life. So, wow, that could be a psychologist, it could be a music school, that could be a lot of different things. But what it actually is a auto repair company, Caliber Collision. So restoring the rhythm of your life, Caliber Collision, well, huh? And I saw this as a customer of theirs, and I'm extremely impressed by it, because this shows empathy. This is speaking to you, the customer. When you have an auto issue, right? There's nothing fun about it. There's nothing enjoyable about it. It's a pain in the butt, costs money, takes time out of your schedule. You got to drop the car off. You got to pick it up. It stinks, right? Nothing fun about it. So if they just said Caliber Collision will do the best job on your car, well, that's not about you. That's about them. If they said, we'll fix your car, it's not about them. So restoring the rhythm of your life, what they're saying is they're going to make it really easy to get your car fixed. And speaking as a customer of theirs, that's true. They're organized. You show up. There's not a long line. They're ready for you. You're in and out quickly. They really follow through on it. So if you say it, you obviously have to follow through on it. But they put a lot of time and thought into coming up with this. Guaranteed. They might not have to pay a ton of money. I don't know what but they thought about, they didn't just kind of slap this logo down and say, hey, we're a collision company. Restoring the rhythm of your life. So really think about that. I mean, they care about the customer. And again, I'm speaking firsthand. I can see it. So they followed through on it, and they're great. So think about that with your brand. Your customer's life easier, better. How are you making them healthier, smarter, sexier, longer living? It really comes back to three things, most of these: health, wealth, and relationships, depending on your business. How are you making someone healthier, wealthier, or more prosperous? Happier with relationships, with friends, with partners, romantic relationships. Most businesses fall into those three categories. So really think about what I started off with. Why do you do what you do, right? So if you're a collision company, you could say, yeah, I fix cars. No, why do they do what they do? To make your life easy when you have a car accident. That's what they do. That's why they do what they do. The actual service itself is secondary. They're just making it easy for you to deal with something that is not fun to deal with. So here's another one. Look at this one, by contrast. So, and I'll compare it to this. Okay, so this is their website. So first of all, very hard to read. This text blends in. It's a white text with a white background, hard to read. This is good. They show their reviews there, and that's really good. And this was a while back that I was on their site, but if I tap that button, it didn't work. So that's called click to call. So if you have your phone number on your website, make sure that on the mobile version of your website, and you tap it, it actually initiates a call. Again, you've probably done this as a consumer when it works, and then when it doesn't, and you're going like this. Do you want your customers doing that? No, you want them tapping it and the call goes through. This here, I actually have to go to the site. Yeah, I think that's why I put the link there. So they had this link to set an appointment, and they really made you jump through hoops to do that. So look, here's the actual site. So if you're using your website for people to make an appointment or maybe just generate a lead, they say they're interested and you call them back, make it easy. Make it easy. So first name, last name, email, phone, am I a new customer, make, model, my vehicle's not listed. I mean, look at this, right? Is that restoring the rhythm of your life? No, to me, this just is like, ugh. So make it super easy for people to fill out forms. Only ask for the information that you really have to have. And you might have to have this. If it's a mortgage application, you know, they need all sorts of stuff. But do they have to have this just to basically get back in touch with you? No. They can call you and say, what kind of car do you have, right? So just really think through that. Now, they have done some good things. They have a text messaging service here. And if you are going to have a longer form, okay, do what's called a step-by-step form. So what I mean by that is, let's just say you're asking for all this information here that you see. So have them fill in their first name, click next. Then it asks for last name, click next. Then ask for email. I'm sure you've seen these as consumers. Sometimes they're called step-by-step forms. And the reason they work better than a long form is because you're getting people engaged. And it actually is adopting a sales psychology trigger called consistency and commitment. There's a great book, if you haven't heard of it, Robert Cialdini, Influence. This is an incredible book. I recommend. So much of the online ads, infomercials that you see are based on this book and these principles. And if you, assuming you're someone who does not like infomercials, you say to yourself, why do infomercials exist after all these years? You know why? They work. And the reason they work is they follow a formula. And if you get this book, and you'll really have a more keen eye when you're out there looking at ads or billboards or signs or infomercials, you'll see it's leveraging and taking advantage of these principles. So let's just say that this form here was 4 fields, you know, first, last, email, phone, and 10,000 people came to this site. If I then send 10,000 people to a step-by-step form where they fill in their first name, next, last, next, email, next, phone, next, the latter, the second one, would definitely get more conversions, even though it's asking for the same information. Why? Because once I put in my, likely to put in my last name, and then I'm even more likely to put in my email. So a great example that I think he uses in this book, a lot of times when people knock on your door for a petition, for whatever it is, anti-fracking, save the whales, whatever it is, sometimes they're not even really using your signature. What they're doing is taking your signature, so you just did something, you took an action, and then a week later you get a postcard in the mail to donate or vote or show up to a seminar. And because you signed that petition a week ago, which just meant doing this, you're much more likely to now take action, because you've done one thing, you're more likely to take another action. So number one, make your forms as simple as possible. Only ask for the information you really, really, really need. And then if you have 3 or more, 4 or more fields, then do a step-by-step form. And I'm sure you've also seen forms where it says, it shows a progress bar across the top. You know, you're 25% complete, you're 50% complete. That's another tactic, because you're setting the customer's expectations, and that gets back to empathy. Hey, you're almost done. You're partially done. If I filled out my first name and it said I was 2% done, well, that's a different story, because that means I have a lot more to go. But if it was 4 fields, hey, you're 25% done. 50, 75, boom, you're done. So just think about these things, you know, even just visually, this is just a lot to look at here. And so that just gets back to, you know, looking at their brand, and it's not about you. That's the header of this slide, not part of their website. But again, just compare it. This is not their website, obviously, but if you go to Caliber Collision, then, you know, you'll really see the difference there. So Are you going to make your site fast? Are you going to make it secure? Are you going to convey your credibility, authority? Are you going to make it so your site is easy to be found, so it's easy to give you my money, and once I'm there, you're going to make it easy by giving me easy payment options, credit card and PayPal. You might, if you're professional services, maybe the transactions are larger, so you can set up ACH. And what's going to be easier for your customers? Setting up ACH, which can be done all online, or sending you a check. Having said that, always allow a customer to send you a check, but if they can pay you ACH, it's electronic, and a service that I just discovered only about 6 months ago is called Veeam.com, and it's pretty awesome because it's very easy to set up ACH and accept ACH payments, and there are no fees. There are no fees for you or your customer. I did hear from a customer that they had to pay, that their bank charged them $1. So, if your customer has to pay $1, or maybe you deduct $1 from the invoice, but that was their particular bank. And once your customer is set up on Veeam, then, and all they have to do is, name, email address, the ACH number, bank account number, and then they have to do a quick confirmation by email. So it's a 5-minute setup, and then they're all set. It's very easy to do moving forward. So I definitely recommend Veeam if you want to take ACH payments. And if any customer's paying you by check, of course, continue to allow them to do so, but explore ACH because it's just easier. It's easier, it's electronic, it's trackable. Veeam can send follow-up reminders. You can attach your own invoices to it. And so I forgot to mention that before about, is it easy to give you my money? But please focus on number 6 here. Everything I'm talking about has to apply to not just desktop computer, but every device. Does that mean mobile? Yes. But is mobile just cell phone? No, it's iPad. And desktop is not just a nice desktop computer, it's a laptop, it's of course an iPad, it is a tablet, and it's also a smart TV. So everything that I'm talking about has to work seamlessly and be very streamlined on all devices. And so with that, you want to make sure that your site is mobile friendly. And so the way to do that is to go to what's called the mobile friendly checker tool. And here it is. If you just type Google mobile friendly into Google, it'll take you right there. So definitely just go here, plug in your site, make sure it's mobile friendly if you're not sure. And then for speed, you can just type into Google, Google speed test. Same thing. You'll plug in your URL and it will tell you the speed of your site. It's on a score of out of 100. And it even tells you what needs to be done to fix it. If you're not technical, you may not be able to do it yourself, but at least it provides what needs to be done. So that's how you can check the mobile friendliness of your site. Sometimes it's also called responsive. That's kind of the developer's term because it means that your site responds to every device. Because mobile friendly really doesn't tell the whole picture because you might not be on mobile. You might be on a tablet or a desktop. That's not mobile or not a phone, but it still has to respond to that screen. So those are a couple good resources for that. And this is incredibly important. I mean, and same thing as I said before, if your site's not mobile friendly or responsive, it's scaring your customers away for sure, probably even more than speed or security if they're on a mobile device. And also, you have to please Google. Google will penalize your site if it's not mobile friendly. You will not be able to get into the Google Maps top 3 if your site's not mobile friendly. Google just won't put you there. So these things all interrelate to one another. So you're not mobile friendly, you're not going to get ranked on Google. If your site loads slowly, you're not going to get ranked. And when I say not ranked, I don't mean not ranked at all, but you might be on page 3 or page 10 essentially you're not going to get any traffic from it. And so definitely do these things. If your site's not mobile friendly, just talking about cost, this, out of everything I'm talking about, would be the largest cost because you would have to rebuild your site. What would that be? I have no idea until I would know more about your site. That's definitely not in the hundreds. Now we are talking more in the thousands. So I think we're coming up on almost an hour, but I just wanted to show this last slide. Depending on your business, these are some things you can think about doing during COVID. Obviously, I don't know your business. You might be completely sidelined. You might be partially sidelined. Maybe you have a restaurant, can't do in dining, but you're doing curbside pickup. But if you're not doing e-commerce and you can, add e-commerce. I have a client that did that. They have a retail store. Retail store's closed. They're adding e-commerce. This is a great one. I'm doing it right now. So reach out to local organizations, businesses, go to your mailing list, what have you, and do this kind of stuff. It definitely works. It gets your name out and a great way to get your branding out. And if, depending on how sidelined you are, if you always said, hey, I want to do that, but I don't have time, well, maybe now you do have time. So make it happen. You know, online events. And I just want to show you something I just found. And that is a service called, it is called Icebreaker. And this was a cannabis company actually invited me to this a few weeks ago. They hosted it and invited their mailing list. And think of this as like virtual speed dating. It's actually icebreaker.video. So there were about 30 people on the webinar, and it just randomly matches you up with other people that are there. So you spend 10 minutes with that person, right? So this was a cannabis company that facilitated this online networking event. It had nothing to do with cannabis. There were a lot of companies in that space, as we are, but that's not the point. You could host this, right? You could get your customers together, prospective customers, and create a networking event. We're thinking about doing it. So that's something you can do now that you may not have had time to do before or may not have known about. So these are some things. Definitely get into your LinkedIn. I mean, go deep into your LinkedIn, you know, and grow your LinkedIn following. That's a whole other topic. That's, you know, hours and whole courses devoted to that. But go back through your list. You might be surprised. Oh, I forgot about that customer or that person or that opportunity. You know, network, cross-sell, upsell. So if you, again, have found that you don't have time to do that stuff and you're just, you know, kind of keeping afloat because of all the things going on, which is typical of small businesses, now might be a time to go back, create new products, source new products, and go back to your customers. I mean, that's always going to be the best opportunity because you have a relationship and you can sell them new products. And when I say give, a great example of that is this. I just saw this on the news literally like an hour ago, and it's a company. It happens to be a nonprofit, but they set up a delivery service in New York to deliver stuff to people that are affected by COVID-19. So I think, you know, elderly and such. And it's a nonprofit. But the point is that they listened. So that's what I mean by listen. This COVID-19 epidemic it's terrible and everyone's upset about it, but it does create opportunities. Any chaos creates opportunity. Whether it's a war, pandemic, financial downturn, it creates opportunity. So that's what I mean by listen. You know, pay attention. I know that's a very vague piece of guidance, but, you know, I saw this on the news literally 2 hours ago. Company was listening and they created something from it. So, you know, give and listen, you know, give back to the community. Opportunities will present themselves. So hopefully that gives you some ideas to think about during COVID-19 that kind of just layers on top of everything else that I discussed. So happy to open things up for questions or comments. Any questions, Kate? It's okay if you don't, no pressure. Okay. Well, hopefully you got some value from this. Just to sum it all up, start with empathy. Why do you do what you do? How can you make your customers feel the way that you want to feel as a customer of a business? Make them feel safe, secure, easy to do business with, be credible. Make your site load quickly so there's short wait times. Make your site secure so people aren't scared away. Pay attention to your reputation, your branding, your messaging. And again, just about everything I talked about, except for rebuilding your site if it's not responsive, we're talking, 3 figures, hundreds, not 4 or 5 figures, and some of the things you can even do yourself. So with that, I'll wrap it up unless you want to say anything, Lisa.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I got a lot out of that. I had no idea how much you could actually manipulate your site to do what you want it to do. I don't have much experience with that, but I really appreciated your making the difference between, this is what I want for you versus this is what I want to do for you, and that does make a really big difference. I hadn't noticed a lot of
huge difference. And even not if you're talking about your website, it might be a brochure, any communication between you and your customer, make it about them, make it about a benefit. The classic line, I didn't make it up, is you don't go to the store to buy a 1/4 inch drill bit. You go to the store because you need to drill a 1/4 inch hole, right? The drill bit is just the thing that gets you what you want. What you want is a 1/4 inch hole. That's the difference between a feature and a benefit. And could talk for an hour about that. But that's a distinction that a lot of companies get wrong. They're highlighting the features, not the benefits. So, and that's kind of like, hey, best auto repair service, that's a feature. Benefit, restoring the rhythm of your life. So you just have to keep asking yourself, and then I'm going to go off on a tangent. I'm respectful of everyone's time, but real quick, because this is something I'm passionate about. Keep asking yourself why that matters, whatever that is. So, best auto repair service. Well, why does that matter? Well, because I want to fix my car. But why does that matter? Well, because it's a pain in the butt to fix my car. Well, why does that matter? Because I'm busy. Well, why does that matter? Because I don't have time for this. Oh, well, we're going to restore the rhythm of your life. So you just keep asking why, and you kind of work up the chain to kind of the higher level, but really the stuff that speaks to people and resonates with people, which gets back to how can you make their life better, easier, wealthier, sexier, healthier, whatever the case. So, but you could just look up features versus benefits. You'll see a ton of information, but think of that throughout everything in your communications, not just your website, but everything. And you'll see some impact from that. So.
That's great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Sure.
Yeah,
thank you, Lisa.
Information. Yeah, we
Thanks
have
for having me. I
check
appreciate
out our
it.
website and see we've got a whole lot of neat things coming up, author talks, book clubs, community meetings. So there's a lot of stuff that we have. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys soon.
Awesome.
Okay.
I have one quick question. Can I ask?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a blog, which I'm building some features into it. So it's kind of different than what you're talking about, but I still got some ideas. And also I'm wanting to start my staging business. And
home staging?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the home staging company that I trained with, you can buy a website through them. Do you recommend that, or that can be added to or rebuilt, or do you think it's better to do your own?
That's a great question. And I just I'm talking to a prospective client about something that's related. So first of all, feel free to email me because I'd want to ask you a few other questions that might be better for offline. It's greg@glosstech.io. See if I can put it in the chat. Or maybe Lisa, you can put it in the chat. Let's see. Chat. Yeah, I'll just put it right here in the chat. And then I'll answer your question more specifically. Okay. So for many industries, home staging and many others, there are specialized companies that help businesses like yours do that. And clearly this is one of them, and they're offering you a website. I would have to know more about what kind of site it is, what they're building it on, to give you a specific recommendation, which again, I'm happy to do offline, no problem at all. But I'll give you a real life story that I'm dealing with now. It's a nonprofit, and they worked with a similar service that you're talking about, Kate, but for nonprofits. And that company built their site. And now this nonprofit that I'm talking to has grown, and their needs are a little bit more robust. But because that company created the site and controls the site, we're very limited in what we can do to help them.
Okay.
They didn't even contact us to rebuild the site. They contacted us to help automate some things on the site, but we can't do it because we don't control it. And so now that doesn't mean that's what this company you're talking to is doing. That's why I want to know more. But I'm a huge believer that any company that builds you a site, whether it's just a website developer like us or a more vertical specific service like you're talking about, make sure they're not holding you hostage. So, this gentleman I'm talking to, he spent money with these guys, and if he wants to leave them, his site's gone. And so now we do have to rebuild his site, which costs him more money, and he's a nonprofit and budget is tight. So just make sure whoever you're working with, you own the site, you control it. They can't take you down. You stop paying them, you still own the site. So, but again, happy to talk to you offline, and maybe the answer is, hey, what they're giving you doesn't hold you hostage, or maybe it does. And so that's just something to consider.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you
very much.
Have a great day.
Thanks,
okay. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Greg. Okay, have a great day, guys.